call the meeting to order. Jen, would you take roll, please?
Commissioner Corbett.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Waldner.
Here.
Commissioner Thill.
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Make a motion we approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no appearances or acknowledgements, is there anything you want removed from the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under old business, 2016 annual report, governmental funds. And Jen, I'll ask you to address that.
All right, alas, we have 2016 annual report. Tonight we're going to talk about the governmental funds. I did leave documents for all of you there at the table. Gentlemen, if you want to share those, take one, pass them around, please. We're going to start this evening with the larger document, the statement of revenues, expenditures, changes in fund balances. A reminder that all of these dollars that we're going to talk about this evening are calculated on a modified accrual basis, meaning we do year-end adjusting entries, which manipulate the numbers, especially as we get into some of the sales tax data. A little bit different than what you see from me on a quarterly basis, okay? 68% of the $7.4 million in total governmental funds revenue is reflected this year in our general fund, and then 59% of the $7.4 million in governmental expenditure is also in the general fund. So a lot of tonight's discussion is going to be within our general fund. Property tax revenue. The two largest revenue streams in our governmental funds are our property tax and our sales tax. Property taxes collected here in 2016 is $1.7 million. That was about $20,000 under budget. However, I talked to the county auditor today, got a report from Bobby, reflects the collection of 98% of city and town taxes and 99% of all real property taxes through the year 2016. Those are awesome percentage rates. So we did collect the $1.7 million for property taxes here for the city. Also provided you some history there. My little clicker here doesn't want to work. That's funny, isn't it? But you'll see 1.4 million in 12, 1.5, 1.6, 1.6, up to the $1.7 million in 2016. Nice steady increase there for us. Sales tax revenue. Collected $1.5 million there in 2016. Again, this is on the modified accrual basis, so when I do send you those quarterly reports, those are on cash basis. That's cash actually received during those months. This is on a modified accrual basis. What's the difference, you might say? About 3 sales tax payments at the end of the year, depending on what year those hit. Okay? This $1.5 million was about $11,000 under budget and about $31,000 less than last year. But you will remember that in past years I have been very conservative in budgeting those sales tax dollars. For 2016 we got a little and jacked those up a little bit to about, we increased the general fund sales tax revenue by $75,000. So even though we fell about $31,000 short, we're still hanging in there, still doing good. We'll keep our eye on that. $1.5 million for 2016. And again, some history there for you. Other revenue in the general fund. Where else do our dollars come from? What else do we fund all of these general fund expenses with? Licenses and permits, $60,000 there. Those come from liquor, video lottery licenses, the public service licenses that we renew every year, and also building permits. Federal grants, nice big number there, $636,000. That is project reimbursement from our 15 and 16 airport project. All of our airport project expenses come with a 95% grant, 90 from the feds, 5 from the state. So that $636,000 that we've received back from them, we know that there's not a lot of improvements, construction going on right now out there. You will remember the $418,000 worth of Tatonka wetland mitigation credits. That's what that expense, you'll see that on the expenditure side here too in a little bit, but that's the majority of that reimbursement was for those credits. State grants, got $128,000 in state grants. Fire Chief Randy gets a wildland fire grant every year. These dollars here also include our surface transportation program funds that come to us at the beginning of each year. Some state shared revenue, those prorated license fees, motor vehicle licenses, $197,000 and $109,000 there respectively. And we also pulled in $171,000 worth of contributions and donations for our animal shelter. Early in 2016, we received the state money, the $60,000 state money that we were able to put towards our airport fuel system. Also, Lake County SRO and Madison Central SRO, $25,000 from both of those entities for reimbursement for the school SRO, along with $17,000 worth of an annual contribution from the county that goes towards the Madison Public Library. Questions on the general fund? Any questions on revenue in the general fund before we move into some other fund revenue? Sales tax revenue here then for the lodging and entertainment tax fund, also called our bed and booze fund. $169,000 collected in 2016, along with another 4 years of history there. That actually is only about $900 under budget, but it was about $12,000 less than collected last year. We'll keep our eye on that one.
You said it was down 11,000 or down 30?
Nope, down 12,000 less than last year. Okay? Yep, the 181 there, Mike, to the 169.
Yep.
But it was only $900 under budget. Sales tax revenue in the second cent sales tax fund. Remembering these numbers here look very similar to the ones that we presented with the general fund dollars there. That 2% city tax is split between the general fund and the second cent fund. So the same is true here as we spoke about when we talked about the general fund. Collections of $1.5 million, also about $11,000 under budget and about $31,000 less than last year. Sales tax collections for 2017 through January, February, half of March is what I have in front of me now, look very good. I'll send you a report on those soon, but they look very good for the beginning of 2017.
Compared to 2016, same months?
Correct. Yep,
Correct.
All right, some additional revenue in other governmental funds, not the general funds, but other funds that fall into the governmental funds. Park and Rec, some state grant money there, about $7,600 worth of state grant money for mosquito spraying, about $76,000 for aquatic center admissions, concessions, all of our rec programs, and then also reimbursement from DSU intramural contract. More contributions and donations here. We got about $13,500, a little bit from the chamber to assist with the community Christmas tree. Phase 3 development, you will remember the Kern addition with the park, how they had to make a contribution so that they didn't have to build a park with these apartments down here. Lake County, $10,000, I believe that was, Chad, for Highway 19, their contribution for the Highway 19 rec trail. And then some dollars from the Lake Madison Development Association. Special maintenance fee fund there. We took in with the resolution that we pass every year, the maintenance assessments for the front footage fee, $224,000. And then dollars collected in the Grant Circle TID and the swimming pool debt service fund go towards servicing that year's debt. So total governmental funds revenue, back to this document here, the statement of revenues there. If you go to page 3, it's about halfway down. $7,489,000. That's before transfers and before changes in long-term debt, which we'll get to on the last page of that exhibit. Expenditures. What do we buy? Where do we spend our money? Personnel. 50%, this one kind of blew me away, 50% of our general fund revenue goes towards personnel. Mayor Commission, Finance, Engineer, Police, Fire, Highway, Streets, Libraries are all the larger departments there within the general fund.
Is that number not as significant, is it more significant than in the past, or does it surprises you?
Personnel expenses are always high. It's always the largest part of your budget. I guess I didn't think it would be 50. But not only salaries and wages, where there's a lot we throw into personnel. Salaries and wages, taxes, group insurance, work comp, all of those personnel-related expenses.
Yeah, I don't question that a bit, but it is. I just thought your comment was surprising.
$2.1 million of the $4.3 million was spent in personnel. Improvements. We built an animal shelter, $117,000. We got this fancy schmancy recording equipment that Jen's learning how to use, $25,600. Sample our flowers. I noted incomplete there. We're not probably quite done there, but in 2016 we did spend $73,000 on the Sample Our Flowers project. Sidewalk improvement project for 2016, $135,000. Not quite done there yet either. New cell construction, $81,000 to dig a new restricted use site cell. That project is complete. And airport improvements, I said you'll see that larger dollar amount there too. $596,000 is what we paid for airport improvements for year 2016. Equipment-wise, bought a new patrol car. Other fuel and oil for resale. Spent about $105,000 to purchase fuel to put out to the new airport fuel system. $134,000 worth of library books, e-subscriptions, videos, and then about $38,000 worth of armory tuck pointing and roof repair. Expenditures in the additional expenditures in the general fund. We're not going to go through all of these. I just do like to list them because we've got general fund dollars that are given to other entities. Senior companion program there. You'll see the Madison Community Band, Madison Area Arts, East Dakota Transit, health, concerts, and promotions there. Other expenditures in other governmental funds. Park and Rec. 2 rec trail expenses this year. 1 Highway 19 that completed that project, $29,000 there. Rec Trail to West Herman. We made an early payment in 2016 for $89,000. Construction in progress. Parks Department also bought a utility tractor. Lodging and entertainment tax, $80,000 went towards the chamber as budgeted. $140,000 to the LAIC. Some big projects here this year in the 2nd cent sales tax fund. The additional penny that we do put towards capital and infrastructure and marketing. LAIC Forward Madison, $120,000 went there. 911 over to Lake County, $111,000. That LAIC sales tax rebate, we spent $60,000, which goes to the LAIC. That is the reimbursement to Custom Touch Homes for the 1% agreement that we have in place with them right now. That totaled $60,000 for year 2016. There's debt service payment there. Here's the big one, 2nd Street project. $953,000, almost $1 million went towards that 2nd Street project. Not quite done there, so construction in progress at this point. Special maintenance fee project, a small amount of the project streets that we completed in 2016 Only $33,000 came from Second Cent here, and then also seal coating, almost $100,000 worth of seal coating expenses. Here's the tail end of that special maintenance fee project. A little bit came out of the Second Cent. The majority of it came out of that special maintenance fee fund as collected. And then also swimming pool debt service to pay off the debt service fund. That leaves us with total governmental fund expenditures also of $7,494,000. That's on page 5, near the bottom of your page. The final page there of this exhibit details the transfers in and out, as we budget for every year, lots of money flowing in and out of those governmental funds. Also, there's a section there for changes in debt service, and you'll see some larger dollars there. That's due to the swimming pool debt service refinancing. And lastly, please note the net change in your fund balances line. That is highlighted there for you. No surprises here. You're going to see increases in the general fund and the Second Cent sales tax fund, and then decreases in the park and rec fund, community development fund, and the special maintenance fee fund. Just as we'd expect based on the analysis of the revenue and the expenditures that we just talked through. Questions?
How many more years are left on the pool? Not sure.
2021? Don't quote me. Let me look.
No, not too.
They're getting down there.
Not too many. Very
Mhm.
good.
All right, quickly balance sheet. That's the other document here, the little bit shorter one. Here's just, I only got one slide on this. This is just kind of a quick balance sheet 101. On your balance sheet, that bottom line there, which my clicker won't highlight, your assets and your deferred flows on your balance sheet must equal your liabilities, your deferred inflows, and your fund balances. Assets this year, the very first highlighted column there for you, majority of your assets are your cash and your cash equivalents. So please note the cash balances in all of those funds at the end of the year. Down in the bottom right-hand corner there, you're going to see, oh, I skipped here. Okay, so your assets, what are your assets? Your cash balances, as highlighted there for you too. Property taxes, your delinquent property taxes. Also your special assessments receivable, so anything that we have paid for that citizens owe us for, whether it will be in year 2017, 18 and beyond, maybe they're delinquent, also the interest that goes along with them. Biggest one here is due from other governments. If you look at that due from other governments line, there's some substantial dollars in there. Those are the dollars owed to us by the state, property tax, sales tax, and then state ones are the highway bridge funds, the alcohol reversion, some grant revenue, and also some special maintenance fee funds. And then your inventory and your prepaid expenses are also considered assets. Bottom of page 1, total assets are $10,572,000. That actually is an increase of almost $500,000 from last year, which can be directly contributed to the changes in cash balances in the general fund, in the Second Cent fund, both increases there, but then decreases in the cash balances in the community development fund. Page 2 there shows your liabilities. Not much there other than some accounts payable. Flip then to the final page there, page 3. Your deferred inflows. Your final breakdown of those fund balances. For total liabilities, deferred inflows and resources of $10.57 million, which is equivalent to the $10.57 million in the asset column. That is a very thorough view of your governmental funds.
Where do we acknowledge our fixed assets, like our streets and city hall and the whatnot?
Right here. Your fixed assets here. That's not on here. Sorry, it's not on your
It's okay.
balance sheet here. I'll get you that document though. And we're gonna go through those, when we go through the water and the proprietary funds.
All right.
We're gonna really look at some asset changes.
But the streets are in the government funds, correct?
They are. They are.
Questions or comments?
Okay, we will do proprietary funds next week is the plan.
Okay,
Okay?
all right.
The increase in the general fund balance, does that include the reserves we set aside too?
Are you on balance
back
sheet?
to the
Yes,
first
because
one.
that's going to be equivalent to on your cash balances.
Yeah,
Okay?
thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to acknowledge?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under new business, bid number 858, review and award bid, sidewalk improvement project 2017-1. I'll ask Chad if he wants to address that one.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Included in the agenda packet is a bid tabulation for said bid. We opened bids on March 22nd at 1:30. We received 3 bids for the project, one from AB Contracting out of Coleman, one for Big L's Contracting out of Sioux Falls, and a third one from Advanced Contracting Solutions out of Madison. AB Contracting was the low bidder. How we structure this is they submit one single unit price, and then that's subsequently distributed to Schedule 1 and Schedule 2, where we have the potential to award them separately if deemed appropriate. Schedule 1 is basically the city work, where we have corner ramps or along city properties, essentially. And Schedule 2 is what I'll describe it this way, the optional work that the landowners would be doing, that if no landowners did any of their work, and this contractor did it all, the estimate would be about $132,000 if you're looking at AB's bid. So that number is a maximum, and that just comes down by the amount that each landowner does for their bid. But that's how we've structured this project. So with that being said, AB Contracting was low for Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. We have not worked with AB Contracting before, so we had requested some pre-qualification, not pre-qualification, but some qualification documents to be submitted listing some of their references and projects. They provided that to me in a timely manner. I did call several contacts, 3 references for them. They haven't done right-of-way sidewalk work, but they're out of Coleman, a branch off of a different company who does plant type work, wastewater plants, most specifically is what I had found out. So they have a wealth of concrete experience, and even on some of those plant projects, it's not necessarily sidewalk, but it's referred to as flat work or slabs and things like that. All sound references, no concerns with them. And while we prefer to have a contractor who has done sidewalk works, if one has sufficient and strong experience in concrete, we are confident they can do that. ADA ramps, while it's not rocket science, there's some finessing that has to be done with those ADA ramps to make sure they comply with those different standards. After I've talked to the references and then talked to the contractor themselves a couple times, I'm comfortable making a recommendation that we award the bid to AB Contracting out of Coleman for Schedule 1 and Schedule 2.
Very good. Questions at all? Okay, if no questions, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we award bid number 858 for sidewalk improvement project 2017-1 to AB Contracting LLC for Schedule 1 and the Schedule 2. Do you want the dollar amounts? 160,
Yeah, sure.
165.75, and Schedule 2, $132,143.
The total is 160, 165, right?
Yeah, I
And
should-
Schedule
I'm-
1
I'm
is
sorry.
28,000.
Whoops, is that-
I should clarify, yeah. Schedule 1 would be the $28,022, yeah, and 75 cents.
Schedule 1 is $28,022.75, and Schedule 2 is $132.43.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On number 2, authorize the mayor to sign the professional services agreement, amendment number 3, with HR Green, PCN 03 TC, project 2019-1, Highway 34, Washington Avenue reconstruction. And again, I'll ask Chad to address this one.
Yes, thank you. This is an amendment being proposed for some work to complete the design of the Washington Avenue construction project. A bit of brief history for this to help give some background, the contract in general, but then some specifics about the amendment. Back in August or so of 2013, we entered an agreement with HR Green, who was the state's consultant, to do the design on 2nd Street, and to do that facilitation and coordination of our project and improvements with the state's improvements. At that time, we were not aware that Washington Avenue was going to be added to the project, but in early 2014, after we received word from DOT that Washington Avenue was planned to be done in 2017, we entered into the first amendment with HR Green to also have them work on that project with us. And so that was the arrangement when it was planned for 2016 on 2nd Street and 2017 on Washington Avenue. We proceeded. One of the things that happened is the state, and we often just are kind of along for the ride in some aspects with that. The state, subsequent to that, changed the 2017 project to 2019. But the deadlines and many of the different things, the submittals for the 2019 project stayed the same. The state wanted them, or substantially the same. I wouldn't say they shifted some, but they wanted them to complete the design process and submit those in, because they already had them under contract for those timeline schedules and such like that. And so that's how the project proceeded with that. And there was another small second amendment for some construction support that I believe that was last fall. And we encountered that during 2nd Street construction. So to the amendment itself, there's a couple different things that this is for some rework in the project. Very unfortunate, but I believe it's necessary. When we laid out these projects according to the original schedules of 2016 and 2017, we had some early meetings, and we had wanted to locate the water mains outside of the roadway surfacing as much as possible. In which case, that time we coordinated with the Public Works Department and to give that feedback to the contractor, and they put the water main on the east side. That's where it was originally designed, on the east side of the road, under the curb and gutter, under the sidewalk. And that's how we proceeded through these different reviews, starting in 2014 up and through actually last year, early last year. During construction last year, we started looking at the constructability of that concept, and we started to realize that we would likely be paying significant more. I wouldn't use the word significant. We'd be paying more than a negligible amount of costs to leave that water main under the east sidewalk. It would be more appropriate to move it to the west side of the road, nearer the existing water main, so that it's easier to install them parallel, so to speak, and then do the tie-ins, among other things. So we during construction of 2020 last year, 2016, we noticed those concerns, and we brought it up to the contractor on the project. Actually asked him to look at it too, what's your thoughts on this, and he concurred at that time. So in mid-2016, I had asked the HR Green to start looking at making those changes. Well, at that time, because of the previous scheduled submittals, there was a significant amount of design work done, great detail into the plan notes and such, already having it done on the east side of the road. So that work needed to be redone to move it over. We had another meeting last week or the week before with South Dakota DOT to also look at the schedule for the 2019 project and the phasing concept a little more closely, to reconfirm, if you will, that they concur that with the constructability concerns we had, and we wanted to make dang sure that we had to move that water line before we proceeded to bring this change to you. And we did confirm that we believe that's the most appropriate way to go about and construct it. What it amounts to is 5 pages of plan sheet changes, and then the corresponding profile view changes to the project. We expressed our concerns to HR Green of the cost. It is a real cost. It's their staff time, and we did rely on HR Green. Would have liked to rely on them to not have to redo these things. They did have some staff changes that made some challenges as well with the coordination effort and such. One thing they did is they reduced their fee about a sixth. They took about $5,000 off into this because of some of those concerns that we expressed. So that brings this project total with these construction the design projects to about, what is it? I wrote it down. $175,000 for the design effort on these 2 projects. The projects this one's complete, the 16 one's complete, and the Washington Avenue is estimated to be about $1.375 million. So about $2.5 million. So we're spending about $175,000 with this amendment for about a $2.5 million worth of improvements. That brings the cost for the design to about 7%. That's still, generally speaking, in a reasonable range. We wish it would be less. Perhaps HR Green was a little bit low on the initial estimate. That may have also contributed to it, but that's my report on this. I don't believe we have a lot of good options. I don't think we're going to be able to approach the DOT because of their change in the schedule and say, wow, can you share some of these costs with us? I don't think that would be an option. Nor do I, HR Green, we've worked with them and they've tried to accommodate us as much as they feel they're comfortable doing. Like I indicated earlier, to take it from about 30,000 to 25,000, but it does remain to be, it's work, it's physical hours that their staff would have to do in making these changes to make it work. So unfortunately, I believe it's necessary for us to proceed with this change.
Now, as we go down Washington Avenue there are properties in that could be developed in the future. Have those property owners been duly notified in that if they want, water and sewer connections and that they need to put them in during 2019 because the state will not let them open up the street after
Right.
that?
Yeah, and most all the lots that currently have service, of course, will be provided service, and then the other vacant lots. I think there's one beside Casey's,
Right.
and then Larson has a lot down the line. We've been talking with Larson quite a bit on different options. His issue is sewer service. We've been working with him and assisting him, and as he talks with his adjacent landowner, he may have to get an easement to extend the service line off Force Main to put it in there. It's sort of, I'll summarize it this way. Gravity, our sanitary sewer system is on gravity. To be able to extend that sanitary sewer system down where he can receive gravity sewer service would be probably at least we actually did the numbers. I believe it's at least a $30,000 cost, and it would probably additionally impact the construction sequencing, just to get him close to the edge of his property.
That's just that one lot, or the house that cleared back into?
No, just his lot. I believe
Just
that
a lot
house-
that's right on Washington Avenue.
Right. I believe that house is probably served off of Grant Avenue, but I'm not 100% certain because that crosses the creek.
It is.
Yeah. So we're
So
working
you
out
probably-
other alternatives for Mr. Larson, but we believe it. We've got some ideas to make that happen, but we don't believe it's an option to be able to extend it. The ground surface slopes to the south
Right.
to the creek, and the sanitary sewer flows to the north, and so
Sure.
I mean so we did look at it because that was our initial goal when we started, but we don't think we can make that happen to get it there so he can have service by gravity. He'll have to put in a force.
A lift.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And he's been talking with his adjacent neighbors, he's been talking with his attorneys, and we're trying to facilitate and help them to find an avenue to gain that service. Then that lot is marketable, as you'd said. It's tough to market that lot. right now.
Are we talking about the same lot right south of that long driveway that goes
Yes.
back?
Yeah.
Can they legally build a house on that close to the creek and in the floodplain?
That particular lot, if you're familiar, you're probably pretty
Yeah.
familiar with that. That's quite a bit elevated, and it is indeed outside of the underneath the floodplain. It drops off pretty abruptly to the south and
Right into the creek.
to the
Right.
east.
Yeah.
But up on that flat part, it is buildable lot, yes.
I was just looking at the expense that it costs to put the water and sewer into the curb line. You know, if you're not gonna be able to build off of that lot, it's just a waste of money there.
And that's why we're not going to incur the cost to try to gain. You don't gain that much elevation by dropping it because that drops off. The roadway slope drops off in elevation from north to south so abruptly. It would be a significant cost for the city to lower the sanitary sewer, and you just don't gain that much. It just doesn't pencil out.
Yeah, because that is a significant drop.
But I think everybody else that has got lots that for future development should be stubbed in.
Oh yeah, we will make sure that happens, yes. Yep. And there's some more down farther south,
Yeah.
near
Yeah, across from Prostralis.
across from Postrellas, yes. Yeah, we've been talking at several meetings over these several years here, have been with Public Works Department and myself and HR Green to assure we're having those things provided.
Okay.
So will the water and sewer be under the sidewalk on the west side of the street now, or in the road?
Unfortunately, it won't, because there's storm sewer on this project. And the state has opted to put much of it under, as much as they can before it gets to a certain size. And actually, I take that back. In the Second Street project, they did move it out in the center of the street because it was so big. It won't be quite as big as the storm sewer on Second Street. So they will be able to maintain it in the curb line, but it jogs from one side to the other at 4th Street South. From the north, it's on the west side, and then it extends to the south, crosses the railroad track. About 4th Street, it jogs over to the east side, and then continues down to the creek. So to answer your question about the water main, at the very north end, we will be putting our water main underneath the sidewalk up until that point where we intersect, where their storm sewer is located. And then we'll be forced to go out into the street like we were on Second Street. Our water main is in the street on Second Street. So we're trying to put it in out from under the roadway as much as possible, but I've come to discover that on this type of project with limited right-of-way, it's a good idea. It's not very possible. There's just not enough room with all the other utilities in the way. So we're doing what we can at the very north end, and then we're having to move it out into the street. Had the phasing been different, we would maybe stick with it on the east side. If we were gonna close the whole street down block by block and build it that way, but, that would be new. Everybody's used to how it was built, how the Second Street was built half at a time. While inconvenient, you're not closing the whole roadway down. That is an option that we talked about and looked at, but that didn't seem to be a very viable one for a number of reasons. And so we won't be bringing, DOT won't be bringing that to you to talk about that. We think it can be done half at a time, like it was on Second Street.
That is an interesting option, though. I'd say it's a lot safer for the workers, and hopefully they could get it done quicker, but it'd be tough to access those businesses when the road's completely shut down. At least I had the conversation. So you're saying we're going to save money by spending a little bit more in engineering?
I believe we will. It's hard, it's really impossible to get the exact number. The contractor, while they bid unit price items, when it's more constructible, you're going to get better pricing, and B, you're going to get a better product. Some of the way they would have had to install the service lines across would have been less than ideal, and more costly to install. I think this $25,000 will be fully, if not more, of an offset with some of the savings.
In 40 years, when they dig it up again and replace it, they'll be happy we spent the $25,000 now.
I believe so.
One other
How much do we
question.
worry about them people?
Are you going across the intersection on Southwest 10? And
To the south.
to the south? Are you going across that?
Yeah, that full intersection will basically be reconstructed when they do that. And actually, this road work will extend with
East.
reconstruction to the east all the way to the divided highway. So that's where that will end. And then, of course, there'll be, as we just discussed not that long ago, the lights will go all the way to Highway 19 lighting. I believe that'll be median with arms going each direction, but I haven't seen the final design for that.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign professional services agreement amendment number 3 with HR Green Incorporated, PCN 03TC, project 2019-1, Highway 34, Washington Avenue reconstruction.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no announcements, no executive session, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.